On that, we have to pay for giving them the money. $100 billion is what Greece supposedly owed. $5 trillion is what the bankers get. $1.4 trillion, leverage more than 3 times. And as soon as they were done, they said, okay, give us more. The answer is now a united Europe under the bankers. I'm going to get to that in a moment. How many thousands of times have I told you this in 17 years? How many films have I made? By the way, today's the day to announce the prediction contest winners. All the procrastination, all of it is going to end today. I'm going to air the first place winner in the 3rd hour today. We need to go ahead and let them know they've won $3,000. Then we'll do the 2nd and 3rd place. A lot of times I announce a contest. It takes a few extra weeks to get it out because there's so many entries, and it's hard to decide, but what we have decided. But again, it's impossible to even chronicle all the predictions and show where I've made them and they've come true, because it's not a prediction. The globalists said what they would do. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. Before I go any further, though, I'd like to direct people who are watching on Prisonplanet.tv over here. 18 of my films, that's 18 of them, for $99.95. That's $260 off. 18 of my films. You want to do all of your Christmas or holiday shopping in one fell swoop? You want to wake people up and support us in the same move, killing 3 birds with 1 stone? Get the films, make copies of them, and then give those copies to stocking stuffers. I just want to get these out. Air them on Access TV. There is no excuse now to not have all 18 of my films that are on DVD. A $259 discount. Normally $359 and change, now $99.95 at Infowars.com. You can also call toll-free for the Alex Jones Everything Special that is normally $300+ for $99.95. 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. And don't forget Prisonplanet.tv to watch my nightly news show and watch this daily show and see all the films. It's 15 cents a day. You can get a 15-day free trial, but that ends at the end of the month at Prisonplanet.tv. Okay, I'll cover this more before I get into chemtrails because it's so important. And here are these articles. Here is the London Telegraph. The EU's architects never meant it to be a democracy. The rise of the technocracy was always part of a plan for Europe. The implosion was always a plan. The founders put out reports a decade ago admitting it. That's what's so frustrating for me. I don't just say the ruling elite are pedophiles, sadists. They are. It's documented. I don't just say they set up the euro to implode Europe and make them all paupers. They said they would. I don't just say the government ships in drugs. They've been caught. It's admitted. Look, continuing. Here's another one. Regime change in Europe. Do Greece and Italy amount to banker coup d'etat? And it goes on to say yes, but it's a good thing, Time magazine says. Here's another one. Will the European Central Bank save the Eurozone? Oh, give the bankers total control. And Merkel says a political union in New Europe to end crisis. See, every time you give them trillions more, their answer is more. And now it's give us total dictatorship, and you can legally never vote yourself out. And they're going to do the same thing here under the Super Congress. The New World Order is upon us. We are asking everyone to launch a Twitter bomb. Instead of it being Justin Timberlake or Rick Perry being up the top of Twitter, we want to do a test. And everybody Twitter out Infowars.com and tell folks to retweet it. But tell them, go to Infowars.com. They're exposing the biggest secret, chemtrails. And when they go there, linked in red, they will see our article that I'm going to read in full coming up, and then your phone calls. Geoengineering our environment under attack. The greatest public health threat can no longer be denied. Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones. And I'm going to do a big TV report tomorrow night, once and for all, totally proving it's a government program from their own documents and admissions and looking at why they're doing it. But right now, please go to Infowars.com. Get the geoengineering, our environment under attack. I've asked Paul to red link it, but my computer may not just have refreshed yet. But we're going to get geoengineering, our environment under attack, red linked. It's the top story right now, and we will get this information out to everybody. Also, coming up, now we have the memo from inside CBS News. because it got leaked out to Michelle Bachmann, where they said we're not going to give certain candidates a lot of time. She got a few minutes. Ron Paul got 89 seconds. The memo says he will be given 90 seconds. And the other candidates on average get about 10 minutes. So, and we've seen this in all of them. It's now been scientifically broken down. This is how they manipulate you. They tell you what you can buy, what you can have, what you can believe in. They tell you something is on the extreme when they are the extreme criminals. Congress now says, oh, we're allowed to insider trade. They're in the news going, we're allowed to. So they're just training you that we're allowed to stick our hands down your pants. We're allowed to stop you at a checkpoint. We're allowed to put fluoride in your water. Well, so what if it gives you a 7-fold increase in bone cancer? We're going to do it. And if land of the free, home of the brave, I know you're on Prozac in the water supply, not just, that's what fluoride basically breaks down into, or Prozac breaks down into fluoride technically. I understand it's hard through this fog to get angry and get upset, but your children are worth it. I mean, even if somebody hit you in the head with a sledgehammer and you were, you know, on the ground half awake, but you saw your kid in trouble, you should be able to get up still and save them. These scientific dictators think they've got us. They think it's funny what they've done to us. But they're a bunch of fallen humans, a bunch of evil, wicked people who enjoy death and destruction. And if good people inside the system start politically sabotaging them, leaking information, the globalists are scared of that, not going along with things, just not following orders, even in a passive-aggressive way, like we saw with the EAS test, we could defeat these people. But you've got to decide what side you're on. And you've got to go. I know why Alex is so angry and so bombastic. Quite frankly, folks, I'm totally exhausted and burnt out. And I get up here and just battle through it in an angry way. And you know what? It's successful and effective. Even though I never tried to calculate and be manipulative, the fact that I'm angry and focused and intellectual, but primitive. I'm intellectual and smart, but I come at it with primitive anger and thrust, and I am able to punch your primitive buttons to then intellectually get out of your trance and look at what is happening. People tuning through the dial, hear this radio show, they stop. And they laugh at first, but then 6 months later, they're abused by the system. Or what I told them, they see it for themselves. How many hundreds of millions of people that have watched my videos, films, heard the radio show, are now seeing the news go, world corporate government's the answer? A dictatorship run by banks in Europe is the answer? I heard Alex Jones say that over and over again. Well, there must be something to this. Yeah, you bet there's something to it. The enemy is overrunning us right now. Wake up. You've screwed around long enough. You've sat on the fence listening to their lies long enough. Wake up. Crash course in awakening, look at the facts, and take action. Chemtrail straight ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. I'm going to open the phones up here at the bottom of the hour. I'll go ahead and give the number out on any of the issues I've already raised. If you just tuned in, Time Magazine is running with the headlines, Do Greece and Italy Amount to a Banker's Coup? And it goes on to admit, oh, every time we're told this will fix the crisis, give us $1 trillion here, $5 trillion there, things only get worse after that. And now they're announcing they need a total banking dictatorship, or a United States of Europe, but it's actually under the bankers. And Time Magazine admits it's a banker's coup, where the countries are never allowed to exit the euro and swear they will pay back everything that is, quote, owed, when 90+% of the debt is created by the very bankers who created the debt, signed the countries onto it to make them debtor slaves. Incredible developments. Here's EU's architects never meant it to be a democracy. The rise of technocracy, that's a quote, was always part of the plan for Europe. You know why? And they go through the quotes here. It's because the founders of the European Union said we're going to implode the countries. And we're going to implode America. The owners of the European Union are the owners of the private Federal Reserve. That's why more than half the bailout money went to foreign institutions and individuals. This is a takeover. So as headlines scream that vain bids to save the euro threaten us with Armageddon, the EU's ruling elite has toppled 2 more elected prime ministers to replace them with technocratic officials who can be trusted to do Brussels' bidding. the new Greek prime minister, and it goes over it, was the man who, as the head of Greek central bank, we wrote these articles last week, by the way, fiddled, he was a Bilderberg Group globalist, the figures to enable Greece to get into the euro against the rules in the first place. See? Before being rewarded with a senior post in the European Central Bank, he is no more democratically elected than Mario Monti, who will most likely be Italy's new prime minister, and had hurriedly to be made the senator for life to qualify him for the jobs. His main qualification is that as a former EU commissioner, he has long been a member of the Brussels elite himself. Then they get into the fact that Brussels calls themselves a technocratic elite, unelected. 75+% of English laws are made by the unelected EU bureaucracy, who the Brits were never voted to be part of. And then what did their prime minister say a month ago? He said, I choose to not let England have a vote, the UK have a vote. We will just put you into the new euro, which totally gets rid of any freedom. And they're now going to have EU tax enforcers in England, Greece, you name it, coming into your restaurant, making sure you're paying the new 20+% VAT on top of the other 25% VATs and the rest of it. To the bankers. You pay your taxes directly to them. The carbon tax is all of it. Here's another one. Chairman of the European branch of the Trilateral Commission, a Bilderberg member, becomes leader of Italy. That's a Reuters article. BBC, will the European Central Bank save the Eurozone? And it says it wasn't supposed to be like this. Talk about a total and complete whitewash of the greatest import. Again, they're acting like, oh, my gosh, we didn't know the European Central Bank would actually take over all the countries. Jeepers creepers. That was always the plan. Here's another one. Merkel seeks political union in New Europe to end crisis. This is out of Business Week. They've been saying for years that's the plan once they imploded Europe, was to create a, quote, new Europe. And the agreements they've already floated are to give the 6 big mega banks that created the debt to begin with total power over every facet of the country, where the legislatures and parliaments have no power except to rubber stamp what the banksters tell them. And that's already the extent in many areas, but now it's total. Bloomberg also reports German Chancellor Merkel called for an overhaul European Union, advocating closer political ties and tighter budget rules in her most explicit prescription for ending the debt crisis. And by budget, that means cutting all the benefits you've paid for, cutting your pension, everything, and paying that to the bankers. It's called austerity. Watch our film Obama Deception. All of this 100% predicted. Because the globalists said they were planning all of this. That's what's so frustrating about it. Here's Paul Watson's article on it today. I got to have Paul update his article. He never toots our horn here. He never links to all the literally scores of articles we've written, videos I've done where we said all this would happen just in the last 6 months, over and over again. But on our news, it's like an unorthodox plan. They just thought of it. Let the 6 megabanks totally control all the countries now. The central banks that can issue fiat currency, they'll bail out the countries. Well, why don't the countries just bail themselves out with